Hey guys, and welcome to a new series. Today we're doing What If Ash Was Betrayed by His Friends? Ash Ketchum is betrayed by most of his friends after a grave tragedy. He leaves Pallet Town with Serena and vows to destroy them on his return. But can he? Will he survive and come back stronger? A bit OP Ash and Serena and a lot of battles. Now without further ado, let's begin. Chapter 1. It was an isolated island, completely cut off from the 6 regions. No one knew this place even existed. However, there stood a boy who had grown into a man on the top of a small hill looking out at the ocean watching the sunrise. The 23-year-old with raven hair just stood there in his blue shirt, blue jeans, black shoes, and black jacket with hood to cover his face, watching the waves hit the land calmly along with a bipedal, humanoid Pokemon by his side, until his most faithful friend climbed on his left shoulder. Morning Pikachu, slept well, he asked his starter Pokemon. Morning boss, you too Mutwo. Yeah, it was peaceful. How are you doing today? The yellow mouse asked his trainer. Morning Pikachu, said the psychic legendary Pokemon. Today is the day, isn't it? 7 years since they took my mother away from me. I guess it is time for our visit to Pallet Town. We should return before the others wake up. Let's go Mutwo, said the boy with a sad smile on his face. Sure Ash, replied Mutwo. They teleported to a small town in the Kanto region named Pallet, home to the great Professor Oak, and walked to a small gravestone in the graveyard that had his mother's name engraved, Delia Ketchum. Never in these 7 years had Ash cried. He always kept his emotions in check, but every time he visited his mother, tears seemed to roll down from his eyes automatically. He just stood there for like 15 minutes without saying anything, just letting his tears roll. I love you mom, was all he could say. Suddenly he felt a hand interlock his own, and a head rested on his shoulder. He just sighed and smiled. There she was, the person he loved the most, apart from his mother of course, one of the very few people who believed in him, probably the only person who stuck with him through thick and thin and never gave up on him no matter what. She lifted her head from his shoulder, kissed his cheek and used her other hand to wipe his tears. I guess I owe you an apology again, he said to her. No, it's alright. I know you like to spend some alone time with her. I saw you teleport with Pikachu and Mutwo, and thought I would catch up with you after some time. She told and thanked her Gardevoir before returning her to her Pokeball. She understood Ash wanted to spend some time alone with his mother, especially on this day. I don't know what I would do without you, Serena, he said. Fortunately you don't have to find that out. Mr. Ketchum, she replied with a grin, which caused Ash to smile. I love you, Serena, I know you do. I love you too, Mr. Pokemon Master. Ash smirked at her reply. I guess it is time to go. Mutwo, he looked at the legendary Pokemon and nodded. Mutwo nodded his head and teleported them back to the island, where all his Pokemon had woken up and were waiting for his arrival. Flashback, 7 years ago, Ash had lost the finals of the Kalos League to Alan. He was disheartened no doubt, but again his optimism had lifted him up. His heart wanted to travel more and meet new people and Pokemon until he became the greatest Pokemon master in the world. Soon after his loss though, Team Flare had wreaked havoc on the Kalos region, causing all the gym leaders, Elite Four members and Champion Diantha along with Ash, the gang and Alan to fight against them. With the help of the legendary Zygarde, they were able to stop the evil intentions of Lysandra and Team Flare and bring peace back to Kalos. Later, Serena parted ways with Ash, Clement and Bonnie as she went to the Hoenn region to explore and try out Pokemon contests. Ash stayed in Lumio City for a few days to help Clement and Bonnie repair the gym. After a week he was about to leave for Viridian City. He got a call from Serena the night before telling him she had a surprise and asking him to call her as soon as he reached Viridian City. Next day gave his mother a call as soon as he reached the airport and then called Serena, who asked him to go to the Pokemon Center for his surprise. Hey buddy, I don't know what surprise Serena has planned, but I don't like just sitting here. One good thing though, all my Pokemon are getting a checkup, said Ash to his yellow partner who was sitting on his left shoulder. Pikachu just shrugged off. Ashketchum, your Pokemon are now healed. You can collect them now, the announcement said. Ash went to the counter to collect the 5 Pokeballs and thanked Nurse Joy. It was at this moment Ash felt a hand on his shoulder and turned. He stood there shocked, but Pikachu jumped from his shoulder into the arms of the person happily. Seems like you are not happy to see me, Ash. The person asked, "I am very happy to see you, Serena, trust me, it's just that you surprised me," said Ash with a smile now. "Well, I guess it was a good surprise then," said Serena. "Of course it was. However, do you mind telling me what you are doing here? I thought you were in the Hoenn region preparing for Pokemon contests." "Oh, you see, I went to Little Root Town. Met Professor Birch and even got a mudkip from him. Then I thought about why I had started to travel in the first place. It was to meet you, Ash, and I realized it is always better to travel with you than to travel alone. I want to travel to Ash, I want to follow my dreams, but I want them to be with you. I just..." To say Ash was surprised was an understatement. He knew what she meant, what she wanted to tell him. It was evident from the kiss at the airport in Lumiose City. Ash was not that dense that he did not understand what Serena wanted to tell him. Therefore, he just put a finger on Serena's lips, implying her to stop telling anything more. "I know what you want to tell, Serena, but I must tell you one thing. I like you a lot. You are my best friend. Honestly, out of all my traveling companions until now, I like and trust you the most. However, I just cannot replicate your feelings for me now. But look on the brighter side, now that we are traveling together again, maybe you will be able to reduce my denseness," Ash told her, smiling. Serena grinned at Ash's self-loathing statement. "You are the best, Ash, you too, Serena. Well, it's already dark now, so let's just stay in the Pokemon Center tonight and we'll leave for Pallet tomorrow." Next day they left for Pallet Town early in the morning, as they wanted to get to Ash's home before it got dark. After walking for several hours and a couple of breaks, they were able to see Pallet Town from a distance. It looked the same every time he saw it, peaceful. Just a few houses scattered, his mother's restaurant near his house, a few shops, and of course the famous Professor Oak Ranch towards the end of the city. As usual, Ash and Pikachu raced to see who reached first, and Serena running to catch up with them. As they neared towards his house, Ash and Pikachu slowed down. They saw a huge crowd in front of his house, a few police vans in the side, a couple of fire trucks, and an ambulance on the other side of the road. Nevertheless, where was his house? He could only see a few pillars and a couple of walls. As he neared, he could see a heap of debris on the ground. He had already pictured the worst in his mind, so had Serena, who was now walking beside him. Ash walked through the crowd into the middle, where he saw all his friends and Professor Oak standing with sad expressions on their faces. He walked through the police perimeter into the house to see his worst nightmare had come true. His mother's body was on a stretcher on the ground, almost burnt. At that moment, everything became black around him and he fell unconscious. Ash slowly moved and opened his eyes to see a worried Serena looking at him. He got up and sat on the bed when he realized why he had fallen unconscious and panicked. "Tell me, Serena, it was just a dream," he cried. Serena just shook her head with tears falling from her eyes. Ash then got out of the bed and ran outside with Serena and Pikachu running behind him. He realized he was in the house of one of their neighbors and started running towards his house. He reached there to see his mother's body was clothed for her burial. He looked around to see all his friends: Gary, Misty, Brock, Tracy, May, Max, Dawn, Iris, Cyllin, and for some reason Drew, Paul. "Trip and Alan, we were waiting for you, my dear boy," said Professor Oak. Ash could not speak anything, he just went to his mother's body, kneeled, held it and cried. Everyone just stood there helpless. Serena just could not stand there. She went to Ash and hugged him from behind. Ash just turned his head a bit and cried even more in her arms. After what seemed like an hour, Ash slowly tried to stop crying and let her mother back into the casket. "I guess it's time to say goodbye to her," Ash said, looking at her mother's face. Serena held him even tighter hearing this. Ash controlled himself and got up. Even though a part of her face was burnt, she still looked beautiful, he thought. Her body was taken to the grave in the casket and was buried. Slowly, everyone left the place until it was just Ash standing there with Serena and Pikachu a little away from him. In the end, he just said, "I love you, Mom," slowly, and turned to see both of them standing. All three of them left the place with Ash holding Serena's hand and Pikachu on her shoulder. When he reached his house, he saw Professor Oak standing there. "Who did this?" Ash asked. Anger was now taking over him. "I don't know, my dear boy, but Officer Jenny has assured they would get to the root of it in a few days. They have already found a few pieces of evidence, it is just a matter of time until they find out the reason. Well, you and Serena can stay at my place, said the professor. Ash grunted. Ash, please keep calm, there is nothing you can do till they find out what happened here. Please don't let your anger take over you, Serena said, looking at him. Ash realized she was right, there was nothing he could do until everything was sorted out. Ash wanted to go into the house, but the police said he had permission to enter the house the next day. For now they were investigating and searching for more evidence. They went to Professor Oak's ranch to see all of Ash's friends and Pokemon looking sad. Some of his Pokemon wanted to go to him, but the others stopped them to give him space. Ash gave a sad smile to all of them and went inside the house where Professor Oak showed him his bed and asked Serena to look after Ash and inform him if Ash needed anything. Ash's friends, except Serena, were outside discussing something. It's not the right time to say anything to him, said Brock. Everyone nodded in agreement. They were here for a different purpose. None of them had imagined this was going to happen just before they arrived in Pallet Town. We should wait for a week or so for him to settle down. Until then you all are welcome to stay at Grandpa's place, said Gary. Flashback continued, but a few days passed. Ash had become normal again, he had overcome the shock. His friends were there to help him sometimes, but Serena never left him out of his sight. Many people had come to visit him and console him. He had started attending to his Pokemon, playing with them. They understood his feelings. Even they missed their trainer's mother who used to visit them 3 to 4 times a week to see if they are doing okay. She was there whenever any of them missed Ash. Now she is gone. They knew what their trainer was going through. They trained among themselves even harder now along with their new Kalos friends. They had a newfound motivation inside themselves. They were not going to let their trainer down ever again. Even though they had let him down in every tournament, their trainer always blamed himself instead of them. Seeing the growing determination in his Pokemon, Ash also decided to go on a journey once more and train even harder. His mother would not want him to just sit there and cry for her. No, instead she would want him to follow his dreams and achieve them. He let this news out among his friends who did not seem impressed. Of course, Serena supported him and said that she would go with him anywhere he goes. However, Ash noticed the frown on others' faces. Don't you guys want me to go on another journey? I am not asking you guys to join me, even though I know Serena is going to come with me, he said and smiled at Serena, who returned his smile. Well, you see, Ash, all of us had come here for a different purpose that day, but unfortunately this tragic incident happened, replied Brock. Yeah, the thought occurred to me, how you guys were able to reach Pallet so soon after the incident. You see, we wanted to tell you something that day, and seeing the current scenario we believe our decision has become even stronger. What is it you want to tell me? Well, Ash, we all think you should settle down here at Pallet. What do you mean settle down? Ash was unable to make out what Brock was saying. What Brock is trying to say is that it will be better for you to choose a different career option, said May. To be blunt, you should leave your dream of becoming a Pokemon master. This was Trip. Yes, you may have reached the Kalos finals, but you are still pathetic, said Paul without any expression, and you lost when you had your Pikachu and Greninja with Synchro evolution in the end, both having a type advantage over my Charizard, Alan added. Ash was shocked, so was Serena. How could they all say this to him? They were his friends, or that is what he thought. You see, Ash, it took you 6 years to reach the finals of a major tournament, whereas I reached the finals of the Evergrande Conference in my first year itself, said Max. I have won the Johto Grand Festival even though I became a coordinator much later after you, said Drew. Even May and I have reached the finals of both the Sinnoh and Hoenn Grand Festivals respectively. Dawn added, I became Drayton's apprentice and managed to become his successor as the gym leader of Oplucid City. Also Cerulean is no longer the second but the last and strongest gym in Kanto, said Iris. What we are trying to say is that you should try a career change for God's sake. This dream of yours is of no use, it is just holding you back. Misty told him, feeling restless now. Yes, Ashy boy, she is right, you got to admit it. You can become something else, like a researcher like me, or a doctor like Brock, or even a connoisseur like Scylla. Gary supported Misty. You do have the recipe to become any of these, even though it is not spicy enough to be a Pokemon master, added Scylla. Not only that, Ash, You seem to attract a lot of criminal organizations which have caused problems to you, we, and anyone close to you. Brock said. He is right. In fact, the police department just informed you that the attack on your house was the work of Team Rocket, whose intention was to teach you a lesson for messing with them. That is what one of their agents who was captured said. Tracy told him. Ash was now completely out of his mind. He always thought these were his friends, but no. These two-faced people just betrayed him by telling him to quit his dream. Anger was building in him now. Serena, on the other hand, was furious. How could you tell this to Ash? You are supposed to be his friends and support him at a time like this. Instead, you betray him and tell to quit his dreams. I think you don't remember how many times he has saved you and your Pokemon from those evil organizations. Serena lashed out. We would not have needed the savings had he not been there to attract those criminals. Max countered. Now Ash lost it, but he still did not want to show his anger to these traitors. Instead, he just said calmly, "Thanks, Serena, for defending me, but these people surely have a different opinion. So, all of you think that I should quit?" They all nodded. "Very well, then I am leaving and you will not see me again in the future, but remember that when I return, I will destroy you all." He told coldly and was about to leave when all his friends tried to block his way, but he just pushed his way out. Some of them tried to stop him, but Trip and Alan just told others to stay there, convinced that Ash had nowhere to go and would return to them in a few moments. In fact, they let a concerned Serena go after Ash. When both the teenagers reached the ranch, they found none of their Pokemon there except Pikachu and a tensed Professor Oak with 2 backpacks. Unknown to Ash, Serena, and the traders, Professor Oak had heard most of their conversation. Therefore, he had recalled all of Ash and Serena's Pokemon into their Pokeballs and put them into their respective bags. "Ash, my boy, I had no idea they would try to pull off something like this. As far as I know, they will not let you go. Therefore, here is the opportunity for both of you to flee from here with your Pokemon. Do not worry, I have lifted the 6 Pokemon restriction from both of your licenses, so you can carry as many Pokemon as you want with you. I have also updated both of your Pokédex, and here is a Pokenav, which has a map of every road, city, and town of every region known. Now, both of you go away as quickly as possible before they come out here," said the professor. Ash could not believe that Professor Oak had done so much for them. He just hugged him, both of them thanked him, promised to contact him, and went through the forest on the other side of Pallet Town with Pikachu on Ash's shoulder. The traders came out after some time to find both Ash and Serena gone. They knew the professor had aided them, but they could not tell him anything. However, it did not matter. They were confident that the teenagers would not survive in their journey. "Since they had no food, money, or outside help, I will be back," said Ash, clenching his fists. "I know you will be. I will be with you all along the road," replied Serena with a smile that Ash returned. Unknown to them, a talking Meowth was following them, in dilemma whether he should confess or not that he was somewhat responsible for the death of the boy's mother. Flashback end. "Hey boss, are you okay? Thinking about the past events, are you?" asked Pikachu. "I am fine, buddy. Those memories just don't fade." Ash replied, "Don't worry, that is the reason I am here, to help you get over them," said Serena. "I know. I just can't believe how lucky I am to have you with me," told Ash, which caused Serena to smile. He then turned to his Pokemon and said, "Today is Battle Day." All his Pokemon roared in excitement. "Which means I am not going to train you, but you are going to show me your strength by battling each other. Choose your respective partners with whom you have battled the least and you will battle one by one. The same goes with Serena's Pokemon. So quickly choose your partners." "Lucario, you are going to battle me." Lucario gulped on hearing this. It was his turn this week. Last week Tauros took the beating. Ash had all his Pokemon from his past. Pikachu, of course, Butterfree, Pidgeot, Venusaur, Charizard, Blastoise, Kingler, Gengar, Primeape, Mook, Tauros. Ash had returned the other 29 Tauros to Safari Zone: Lapras, Snorlax, Heracross, Meganium, Typhlosion, Feraligatr, Shiny Noctowl, Donphan, Tyranitar, Swellow, Sceptile, Crawdaunt, Torkoal, Glalie, Staraptor, Torterra, Infernape, Floatzel, Glisker, Garchomp, Unfezant, Samurott, Imbore, Serperior, Scrafty, Levany, Seismidode, Gigalith, Crocodile, Greninja, Talonflame, Hawlucha, Goodra, and Noivern. In these 7 years, he had caught several other Pokemon, namely Alakazam, Dragonite, Gyarados, Scizor, Ursaring, Skarmory, Shiny Absol, Salamence, Metagross, Luxray, Drapion, Lucario, Zoroark, Galark, Hydreigon, Malamar, Tyrant and Dragalge, Decidueye, Incineroar, Lycanroc, Duskform. Serena similarly had caught a lot of Pokemon to add to her team of Delphox, Pangoro, Sylveon, and Swampert. Her new team consisted of Dugong, Arcanine, Nidoqueen, Ampharos, Kingdra, Houndoom, Blaziken, Gardevoir, Shiny Milotic, Altaria, Lopunny, Togekiss, Musharna, Swasbuck, Druddigon, Gagote, Trevenant, and Aromatisse, Primarina, Serena, Oranguru. Not only that, there seemed to be another Pokemon that had stuck with him for the last 7 years, even though for the first couple of months Ash thought the Pokemon would betray them, but as a matter of fact it helped him get revenge on Team Rocket. Yes, the same talking Meowth that once belonged to the criminal organization now was Ash's Pokemon, a part of his family. How did all these happen? Well, it is a long story. However, at present the battles continued for a long time. Both the trainers and their Pokemon had their lunch in between the battles. In the end, it was Ash against Lucario. Ash won the battle that went on for like 10 minutes. They shook hands. Lucario knew there was no way he was gonna defeat Ash. 6 years ago, the scenario would have been different, but now Ash, using his aura in the battles, had become a beast when it came to speed, strength, and stamina. Meowth had his usual job of providing first aid to the injured Pokemon along with Mutwo. Mutwo was not Ash's Pokemon. Nevertheless, it stayed with them on the island as their guardian, and Ash could not convince him otherwise. He felt he owed Ash for what he had done for him all those years ago. Be the first time they met or when Team Rocket wanted to capture it again. As the sun was about to set, Ash saw a Pokemon fly towards them. It was a Pidgeot, Mr. Goodsho's Pidgeot to be exact. It had a letter attached to its neck inside a small box. Ash petted her, took out the letter from the box, gave her some Pokemon food and asked her to return. The bird Pokemon flew away as they watched. Ash then opened the letter and smiled. "What is it, boss? Why are you smiling?" asked Meowth. "Something I have waited for a long time," Ash said, and Serena immediately understood what it was. Ash read the letter aloud. "Dear Champion Red and Top Coordinator Yellow, this is to inform you that the 6th edition of the tournament named Masters Victory Tournament that takes place every 10 years is going to be conducted this year. The winner of this tournament is given the title of the Pokemon Master. Any trainer who has ever reached the finals of a regional championship tournament, a Pokemon Grand Festival, a Pokemon Masterclass Showcase, or conquered the battle frontier of any region is eligible to participate in this competition. Apart from that, current and previous gym leaders, Frontier Brains, Elite Four members and champions can take part in this tournament. The tournament will start on the 1st of April at the Conference Stadium in Silver Town, located at the base of Mount Silver. Since you fulfill at least one of the criteria, you are eligible and are requested to take part in the tournament. Last date of registration is 31st of March. Looking forward to your participation. With regards, Charles Goodshow. President, Pokemon League. He found another small piece of paper in the envelope. He read the paper silently first and then aloud. "Dear Ash and Serena, actually, I sent the letter to you people. At least you could let me know where you decide to head. It is so tough to track you, especially with the arrangements for the tournament going on. I really hope to see you both at the tournament. To add to your motivation, I want to inform you that most of your old friends have been invited to participate in the tournament and possibly the others are going to turn up too in order to support them. See you soon, Mr. and Mrs. Ketchum. Goodbye for now, my friends." Scott. He and Serena looked at each other, laughing at the Mr. and Mrs. Ketchum reference. All the Pokemon smiled and stared enthusiastically as Ash read the letter. That's it for this video. If you like this new series, please like and hit that notification icon. If you want to read this amazing story, the story will be in the link below, and I'll see you all in the next video.